Hey guys, it's me again, Drew. I want to talk to you today about something that I feel fuels the hobby. We've talked about a legacy and we've talked about generosity, but something I want to talk about is kindness. And we all know what kindness is. We show kindness towards people, people show kindness towards us. Those make impacts, they're memories. And I want to talk about how two different men both showed kindness to me in a way that they didn't have to. Maybe their reasons were for their own, I'm not sure why, but they chose to show kindness. A long time ago, when I started collecting, I used to visit my local card shop, and there was actually three in the town that I'm in. And one of them, he had this long case, and it was all the modern stuff, all the new stuff, packs, inserts, things like this, early 90s. There was a few things, mostly baseball, but the point was around the outside there was another case, a little side case that had vintage in it, and I was not into vintage at that point. But what I loved to do was I would look in this case, and I remember specifically there was a Steve Carlton rookie card in there. I thought, oh man, I'll never own a Steve Carlton or anything that old. The oldest card I had up to that point was probably a mid or early 80s card. So to me, vintage was like it was like a universal way. But I remember specifically that in the back of this case was a little box, probably a 20 card box holder, and there was some random comment on top from I don't even know the year, who it was. But on top there was a little sticker that said $2 each, and I never looked through it. I didn't care about looking for fines or anything like that, but out of sheer boredom one time, I decided to see what was in that box. So I asked him to open the box, and the shop owner's name is Asa. And Asa gives me kind of a smile, pulls out the box, kind of like he was waiting for this moment, and he gives it to me. And I open it up. Well, you know what? We're going to wait to see what was in that. The second story that I have is about a man that worked with me. He was older than me, and he had been a collector for a number of years. He was probably 10 or 15 years older than me. He had a little bit of an established collection, and he had some great stories. He was from Florida, and at the time there was no teams in Florida, so his only exposure to seeing baseball was going to spring training games. He was a big Yankee fan. He would always go see the Yankees in spring training, and he told me stories about seeing people in spring training or guys before they even made the majors. People he got to get autographs from. Great stories, great stories. His name was Joe. Joe came in and said, Drew, I've got something for you. And he pulled out a card and he gave it to me. Let's see what those cards were that he gave me. The card that I found in the card shop for only $2, my first vintage card, I couldn't believe it, was a 1968 Roberto Clemente. And it's miscut, it's not perfect, but I held it in my hand and looked at it. The blue color in the sky, his determined look in his face, his huge, strong hands. I couldn't believe it. A Roberto Clemente. And it was only $2. And I asked him, I said, Asa, are you sure you only want two? He said, I was waiting for a long time to find out who was going to finally find that card. And I'm glad it was you. He didn't have to do that. He could have easily put that in his case and sold it for a lot more money. But whether it was for fun or just for generosity, but honestly, knowing him over the years, I really think a lot of it was because he really just loved to see the joy of people collecting and discovering. The second card that I got from the man who worked for me, he came in and said, nobody should collect without having a Mickey Mantle. And he gave me a 1968 Mickey Mantle. Now, as you can see, it's beat up. There's surface wears, soft corners, there's a crease across the middle. The back has some writing on it. But you know what? It was legit. It was a Mickey Mantle. And it wasn't necessary that he gave it to me, but he chose to do that. So those are just a couple of stories about two cards and some kindness. Kindness that two different men didn't have to do, but they chose to. So I encourage you, look around, be kind to people, and not just be kind to look around, but recognize when people go out of their way and do something for you. Whether it's in this community, whether it's in your family, whether it's at work, you're just walking around in everyday life. Just choose to be kind to people, and you'll see the rewards, you'll see the benefits, and you never know whose life you can touch. Guys, thanks for joining me again. You guys be good.